Hey everyone, I just wanted to congratulate you on getting access to this video course on how to deliver your webinar with the highest conversions. And this is going to be a 9-part video course. Now, my goal here before we get started is to really condense as much as possible so that you can watch, learn, and quickly implement as quick as possible. So I know your time is valuable, so I'm going to do my best to keep things short and straightforward and kind of eliminate some rambling as possible. All right, so first things first, this is video number 1, which is the introduction. And where this video course begins is that you've already set up your landing page. So you already have your webinar in hand and you've already set up your landing page. So you can use lead pages, you can use optimized press, you can use whatever you want to set up your lead capture page. So this is basically somebody fills in their name and email, and at this point they are waiting to receive the webinar replay from you. So from this point on, this is where the video course starts, and I'm going to walk you through, for example, how to set things up, how to set up your autoresponder, how to write your email autoresponder series, which actually is very crucial. A lot of people tend to forget that setting up a high converting email follow-up series is very, very important. Now, before we get started and we jump right in, I want to say that the mindset here is that the secret is in the email series. I know it's easy to get lost amidst all the different software tools that you can buy, and while those are definitely important, you definitely want to focus on the email series, what you're going to write about, whether it's your product, whether it's your service, whether it's a specific action that you want people to take. You really want to think about that before you begin to write your email series. Now, if you want to watch all the way through the video course first so that you have an idea about how everything is broken down, that's fine. Or if you want to follow along, that's fine too. So feel free to pause this video at any time. So what I want to do now is kind of give you a quick glimpse of all the videos in this video course as a whole. So obviously this is video number 1, which is the introduction. Video number 2, we're going to talk about delivery platforms, which is definitely important. So I'm going to talk about 3 different categories of tools that you can use to deliver your webinar replays. Video number 3, we're going to talk about the email course formula. So before I jump right in and show you how to write your emails, I want to kind of show you what the actual formula looks like so that you know exactly what to expect. Video number 4, we're going to talk about the email swipe, which is what we call the replay or the welcome email, and we'll discuss that in more depth. You'll get to follow me step by step as we create the actual email. So the whole goal is by the end of this video course, you will have your own email series written 100% all the way from start to finish. All right, so video number 5, we're going to talk about benefit angles, specifically as far as writing emails. So benefit angles are typically in the between the welcome email and the closing emails. And this is kind of going to tell your prospect, hey, this is what this product does. This is beneficial to you. And as you know, you have many benefits to your product and service, but you can't always fit that into one email. So this gives you an opportunity to build trust with your actual prospect who is interested in your product that is being sold or whatever is being taught inside of your webinar replay. And then of course, video number 6, we're going to talk about the close, which consists of 2 different emails. Video number 7, we're going to talk about the webinar page, so the page itself, and how we can create the page in such a way that we create an experience, we create scarcity to get people to take action. And video number 8, we'll talk about text emails versus HTML emails. And video number 9, we'll talk about setting up your follow-up series with GetResponse. So as you can see here, The whole premise is to teach you how to do it, walk you through step by step, and actually practically and realistically apply this. And then by the end of this whole video course, you'll not only have the email follow-up series, but you'll have everything in the funnel itself, and you'll be able to be shown how to set things up, which is very important. So with that said, let's move on to video number 2 and talk about delivery platforms. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 2, and we are going to discuss delivery platforms. In other words, how are you going to deliver your webinar replay? Now, there are 2 different ways of delivering your webinar replay. And the first way is by kind of mimicking a live experience by utilizing some high-end software tools. Now, the first one is called EverWebinar, and EverWebinar does cost a good amount of money. It's about at least $1,000. And what it allows you to do is it allows you to mimic a live experience, whereas it's not really live. So what it allows you to do is think about this. Your prospect comes in at any given time and you set something up on EverWebinar. And it allows you to kind of make it so that your prospects, as they watch, questionnaires, polls come out of the blue at a certain timestamp that you specify. Or when it comes to your pitch, you can have certain buy buttons come out so that your prospects will be able to engage and interact with you, whereas you're really not on the live webinar. It'll have chat up. It'll basically make it look like it's live when it's actually not. So sometimes that experience can work, and sometimes that experience can actually hurt you depending on who your audience is. Now, we've actually done some tests, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Now, if you can't afford EverWebinar, there is another software that you can use called Webinar Geo. That's Webinar Geo. So basically what Webinar Geo does is it does it a lot more than EverWebinar without the high ticket price. So really what it comes down to is with Webinar Geo, it allows you to record your live webinar, allows you to take that live webinar, download it, and you can also automate it and kind of create a fake live experience similar to EverWebinar. But of course, EverWebinar has a lot more features, but Webinar Geo allows you to do that as well. And we were able to kind of work out a 40% off discount for you. And if you want to check it out, this is not available to the public. You can go to checkthisoutRightNow.net/webinar geo discount. Now, the second way of delivering your webinar is just straight up autoresponder. No worry about having to create or mimic a live webinar. Simply put, you can simply set it up utilizing systems such as GetResponse, Aweber, or Ontraport. It has a lot of tracking and statistics that you can actually use to improve your business. But the only major problem is that Ontraport costs $297 per month, whereas GetResponse or Aweber kind of starts at $25, $35, or more, and it progresses from there. So you obviously will save a lot of money by going with GetResponse or Aweber versus Ontraport. But if you have a little bit of money, I would definitely recommend going with Ontraport because you can do a lot more. And we found that the inbox delivery rate, in other words, the emails getting to your prospect's inbox, is a lot higher. So now that you know what is available to you, I really want to jump straight in, talk about the actual email autoresponder series, because if you really think about it, the secret to conversions is in your autoresponder follow-up email series. It's not really in the software that you use. And now, through our testings, we actually found that GetResponse, Aweber, or Ontraport, or even straight autoresponder series actually work really well when it comes to highly technical audiences. Now, if your audience is not highly technical, you might want to go with something like EverWebinar or Webinar Geo. But bottom line, really what it comes down to is your email course itself, because that's going to be how you gain trust, how you build trust, how you talk about your product's benefits, and how they actually are beneficial to your prospect. So with that said, let's move on to video number 3 and talk about the email course formula. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 3, and we are going to discuss the email course formula. So this video is going to be fairly quick. The goal of this is kind of give you a brief overview of the breakdown of the email follow-up series. So it's going to first start out with the welcome email. So you're just going to give them the actual webinar replay, and this is what they are going to sign up for. So they are going to expect this. So they're going to want it right away. So you definitely want to deliver what you promise so that you gain their trust. Now, they're not going to initially buy, and some may not, but the majority of people will not buy just at the welcome email. You're going to have to build and gain their trust over a course of time. Now, this is where the benefit angle 1, benefit angle 2, and of course there are other benefit angles as well. So we're going to talk more about that later, but it doesn't really have to be 2 angles only. It can be 3, it can be 4, and it can even be 5 if you want to kind of prolong it and just give people a good insight, good education, and good value up front. Now, what the benefit angles are is basically going to be different benefits that stand out about your product or service. In other words, the benefit is something that is going to have an impact on the prospects itself. So if you think about benefit versus feature, feature is something like the light bulb is green. Why does that matter? Well, the light bulb is green. Let's say hypothetically, just make something up, but the light bulb is green because it allows you to, it doesn't hurt your eyes, it allows you to work faster or something. So that is going to be the benefit, is why does it matter? Like, why does that feature matter? So that's going to tell people the different reasons why they should actually buy your product or service. So that's what the benefit angle is, and we'll talk about different angles that you can take that we have found to actually work. And then of course, after that, you want to kind of begin to close, and you want to add some scarcity in there. So you want to add a countdown. Talk more about that later on. And then of course, you have the final close, which is when you close down your actual email course. Now, you might be thinking, why should I do that? Wouldn't I lose sales? You'll actually gain sales because people take you more seriously if you close it down. And we'll talk more about like how you can go about doing that, what softwares you can use to actually kind of create a user experience so that it actually closes down. So we'll talk about that later on in the future videos. But for now, let's start with video number 4 and talk about the email swipe, which is going to be the replay, and the welcome email. So we'll see you in video number 4. Hello and welcome back. This is video number 4, and we're going to talk about the first email swipe, which is the welcome email or the replay. So after somebody has opted in, they are going to be expecting the webinar replay. So regardless of how you deliver it, the easiest way, in our opinion for now, to deliver it is via autoresponder. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up your autoresponder, which I'll show you later on at the end of this video course, once we go through the email series, how to actually set things up so that when somebody signs up on your autoresponder email list, they will receive the email immediately. So obviously writing the email is not hard at all. So let's just walk through here. So let's go ahead and write out your first welcome email. Let's focus on the emails first. Don't worry about the technology or how to set things up. I'll walk you through step by step. Okay, so this is the email here, and I want to say that I would recommend that you pause this video at any time so that you can simply write down what the email says, and then of course fill in the blanks with the information that relates to your product or service. So up at the top here, we have 3 subject lines. The first one is bracket sign, replay, bracket, space, how to achieve this end desire. So obviously you're going to fill this in with the end desire that the prospect wants to have in relation to your product or service. Now, another thing you can do is replay, space, and then of course the headline from the actual webinar earlier. So when they see this, you want to make sure that your lead capture page has the same headline, the email they receive has the same headline, and when they click on it, the webinar itself has the same headline. Because you got to realize that you're attracting somebody who really wants to sign up to get access to the webinar replay, and the headline is what grabs them in. So you want to make sure that you fulfill that promise by giving them what you promise, right? So that's one thing, but another thing is to keep in mind that you want to make sure that the headline is as short as possible, because when they open it up, regardless of what device, it can be iPhones, it can be iPads, it can be Android devices, and it could be a desktop. So depending on what they open it with, you generally speaking want to keep the headline or the subject line short, because sometimes it'll cut it off. So if you get the right words within a short amount of spacing, you'll be able to actually get their attention, right? So this email is actually very, very short. It just says, hey, first name. So obviously you're going to say, hey, and then if you're collecting the first name, I would put the placeholder here. Now keep in mind that depending on your autoresponder service, if you're using GetResponse or Aweber, it doesn't matter. You just need to put the placeholder right here. So the placeholder obviously will be different depending on the autoresponder service that you choose to use. So we say, hey, first name. If you missed it, here's the replay for a limited amount of time. So we like to put this in here because this says, so you obviously missed the webinar, all right? But here's a replay for a limited amount of time. Now, the reason why we say that is we're building up some scarcity here. So we didn't tell them exactly how much time is left, but we're telling them it's a limited amount of time. And you can tell them later on, when that time closes. And then of course you put your replay link here, which is going to be your webinar page link. And then of course you'll say you'll discover how to achieve this end desire, benefit 1, benefit 2, benefit 3. So if you think about the first email being kind of a table of contents and not just introducing it, but welcoming and allowing them to see maybe the other benefits. So that would pique their interest. Let's say you got 3 benefit desires here. And the reason why we put that is kind of a foresight into what will happen in the future. So if let's say we have 3 benefits right here, that would allow you to create 3 maybe different emails. Or if you have 4, 4 different benefit emails, or two different benefit emails. So I would put that here, 2 benefits or 2 benefit angles here. And then I would say, I would add scarcity if there is a timer. Now, obviously, if there is no timer, you don't need this paragraph. So we can say this replay link will be up only for a short amount of time. Then it will be taken down in X hours. So don't put this off. So if you're interested in finding out how you could achieve this end results and desire, remove the pain or remove the problem. So you're going to put that here. So go ahead and grab your favorite beverage, remove distractions, and click below and sit back and watch this. So obviously you're going to put your replay link here. And the reason why I like to say this is because before the webinar happens, your goal is to remove as much distractions as possible. If you can remove those distractions and get people in the mindset of like not talking on Facebook or anything like that, you will get their attention. But if you don't say that, then people will have all these different windows open, and it's not to say that you'll be able to prevent that, but that allows you to kind of give them guidance and some call to action. So we put the replay link here. Put your warm regards, your name and your company name if that is the case. And then of course, this gives you the opportunity to kind of tell them what's coming up next. So as long as you are transparent with people and you tell them, hey, tomorrow I will be sending you some tips and advice on how to achieve this end desire. So here's what I would normally do. If we scroll back up to the top, we have 3 benefit angles, right? So this is obviously the welcome email. So this does not really have a benefit angle, right? So in this case, I would put benefit 1 right here. And then when I send out the email, the benefit 1 email, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day after that, in that email, I'll then include a PS at the bottom for this. And in that email, I'll include a PS with a sneak peek preview of the benefit angle number 3. So if that makes sense. So really, really basic here. The whole goal is just to welcome them, give them access to what you have promised, add a little scarcity in there, add some sneak peeks, add some timers, get them to remove the distractions, and that's it. Okay, so now that you have created your welcome email and you have given people what they have opted in for, now what you can do is you can build and gain their trust further. So obviously, a majority of times when somebody signs up to your email opt-in list, they will not buy at that given moment, and that's fine. So what we want to do is we want to build and gain their trust, and eventually they will buy. Now, what kind of emails can you write in between the welcome email and the closing email? And that's what we are brought to benefit angles. So benefit angles, you can have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or more different emails in between. And the purpose of these emails is to show people the benefits or the answer to the question, what's in it for me? Which is what your viewers are going to be asking. So if you can answer these in many different ways, you can look at your product or service and see what are the benefits to them actually buying your product or service. Does it solve a pain? Does it save time? Does it save money? And things like that. So I'll actually give you some ideas on different benefit angles that you can apply to your email course. So as I stated, angles are formed out of benefits of your product or service. You don't have to have just 2 benefit emails. You can have more. You can have up to 5, up to 6, or how many that you wish. I typically like to start out with 2 to 3. And if I feel like, the conversions are doing really well, I might add more or just test it and see how things go. Now, if you're using a timer at the very end, for example, if you're using a countdown timer and you're closing it at the very end, I would probably try to keep it to a max of 3 to 4 benefit emails. If you want to test it with more emails, that's fine. But generally speaking, I find 3 to 4 emails is a sweet spot if you are using a timer. If you're not using a timer at the very end, meaning if you're not going to close down your offer at the very end, then you can use 5, 6, 7, 8 or more benefit emails. So here are some different angles that you can use. And keep in mind that every single email that you have that sends out per day should not contain more than 1 different angle. So if one of the angles is like save time, you might want to focus on that and that alone. And then the second day or third day have a different angle. So just keep that in mind. So different angles that you can use are like saves time. So your product or service can save time in some form or some way. Or maybe it saves money. Or it makes them more money. Or it allows them to do more with their time. So as you can see, these angles can actually relate to each and every one of them. It prevents headaches. It solves what problem? And it solves what pain? So obviously you can get into a lot more depth within your product or service, depending on what you're trying to sell, what you're trying to get them to take action with, and you can apply that to your company. So these are different angles that you can use, and if you want to just pick and choose 3 to 4 and just run with it, you'll see in just a minute how I write the benefit emails, and then you can apply that to your own product or service. So let's take a look at an email that you can actually swipe and fill in the information with your own products or services. So the goal is by the end of this whole video course, you should have an email course written up. So let me go ahead and show you that right now. All right, so the key to the benefit angle emails are that they're short and sweet, but they focus really on one specific angle at a time. Do not make the mistake of trying to combine too many angles in one email. The goal here is just take the benefit angles that you created previously, and then you can simply reuse this email over and over again. And you'll see in just a minute how you can tweak it a little bit to make it unique, but at the same time, it'll pretty much be the same email. Now, the subject line, keep it simple. So it's going to be the benefit angle #1 headline. So, how to lose weight, or how to do this, or how to do that and try to make it interesting. You can add things like discover how to do this, or powerful new solution to do this. Just keep it interesting, but keep it short. Then you can say, hey, first name, missed the webinar replay, ? Go here and put your webinar replay link right here. So generally speaking, you want to sprinkle it all throughout. So if somebody is in a rush, they can just click on that and go straight there. So some people will be in a rush, they'll click that link. Some people need a little bit more convincing, so that's why this is here. So you can say, during this presentation, you'll discover the real secrets to benefit angle #1. So save time, saving money, or saving something, or solving something. And then what you want to do is you want to elaborate on that benefit #1. So write some details about why benefit angle #1 or #2 or 3 or 4 or 5 is what they want ASAP, or as soon as possible. So obviously this little blurb here is just addressing you to write some details about benefit angle #1. So you can create bullets of why and elaborate further in detail. Then you can write something that happens only on the webinar itself. So obviously this is addressed to you. You can say something like, you'll learn this sneaky but weird trick on the webinar on how to ... And the reason why you do that is you're kind of giving a sneak peek preview of what's on the webinar itself. So that kind of gives them an idea of, okay, I definitely want to watch the webinar replay because of this. And then of course, don't forget to get them to take action again. So you can watch the private replay here, replay link here, warm regards, put your name. You can put tomorrow or in 2 days, I'll be sending you more information on how to, and then benefit angle #2 and so forth. So now if you have several benefit emails, then obviously you'll have several of these. Okay, so this is obviously for #1. So if you're done with number one, number two is just the same. And then we just replace it with number two. And if this is number two, then obviously we change this, bump it up, +1 to number three. And of course, if this is number three, then the PS or sneak peek preview would be +1, number four. And if you don't have number four, then of course you can always remove this and get them to take action again. So that's really what it comes down to when it comes to the benefit emails. Nothing complex at all. Very, very simple. And that's how you want it, because most people don't have a lot of time to read. But if as much education as possible, if you can give some free tips, then you can justify it being a little bit longer. Okay, so now that you understand how to do this, let's move on to the next video. So now that you're done with the benefit emails, let's move on to the remaining last email swipes, which is the close. Now, the close can consist of about the two emails, and it should be the countdown and the final close. So if you really want to, you can add 3 emails if you would like to. Really, the countdown and the close are going to be very, very similar, but the countdown is going to let them know, let's say, for example, that you have a offer or webinar replay that is going for 72 hours. So maybe at the last 24 hours, you could have the countdown or even 48 hours warning them that, hey, when the timer ends, then so does this webinar replay. So you could have one at the 48-hour mark. You could have one at the 24-hour mark. You could even have one at the 12-hour mark, and you can have a final close. So it doesn't have to be 2 emails. It can be you can be 3, you can be 4, you can be more. But really what this is trying to do is warn the prospect that, hey, if you don't buy it now, this offer will definitely disappear. Now, keep in mind that, if you set it up so that it doesn't really disappear, you may not want to use a countdown or a final close. Now, you might ask the question, what if this offer closes? Does it make me lose money or anything like that? Not necessarily. You can actually open it up later down the road. So these 2 emails, or whatever number of emails that you want, are crucial to getting as many sales as possible because they use scarcity. So if you think about a lot of sales like the Black Friday sale or really urgent time-limited sales, a lot of people tend to stand in line, they get it, or they don't. If they don't get it and it closes, that's fine, because they're going to want it later on. And of course, you can offer it maybe for a limited 24-hour time period. So there's actually ways to go about doing it so that it actually closes down, like the actual webinar page will close down. But you need a special script in order to do that. And I'll talk about how you can go about doing that, what scripts you can buy that will actually do that, to kind of create that experience where something actually closes down. So for now, let's go ahead and jump right in, and I am going to show you how to write these 2 last emails. As you will see, they are going to be very, very similar. So let me go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so when it comes to the close and the countdown, they are going to be very, very similar. So I'm going to start with the close to kind of get the countdown go. Now, the subject line can be something like replay coming down. Now, you don't really need to specify a number of hours just yet, because it depends on how many closes that you want. So if you want to say, you want to close and say, we're counting down via the 48-hour mark, 24-hour mark, 12-hour, and then of course you close. So those are 4 emails. So you would have 3 closes. They would all be very, very similar. And then of course the last one is the big, we're closing now kind of thing. So really what it comes down to is they're not very, very different. So I'm going to keep it simple, and we're just going to keep 1 close and 1 countdown. All right, so we're going to say replay coming down, original headline. And if you want, you can put dash 48 hours, or you can put it over here, 48 hours left. You could put 24. You could even put it over here and test it out and say 24 hours left. But I often found that the actual countdown being in the beginning actually helps, because when they're scanning through their emails, they're actually able to see the countdown number at the beginning of the subject line. So if they're going through the emails and they see that, most likely, if you think about it, that's when they actually will, click on that. So you can say, hey friend, or hey first name, just a reminder that if you missed original headline webinar, so very, very easy, the replay is coming down very soon. Last chance to watch it here. Put the replay link here, and then we scroll down. And if you need to go back and pause it and write it down, that's fine. We really deliver tons of tips and ideas to achieve end goal. You can say it's a huge time saver, or it saves money, saves time, prevents problems. So this could change if you want to. In fact, if you enter currently doing something that is not working. So you could say if you're currently, on this weight training diet, or if you're trying to lose cholesterol and you're currently using this right now and it's not working, then right now, go watch right away. So you can go watch right away, as we think what you will see will blow you away. All right, so you can reword it. It doesn't have to be exact, but something of that matter, just to give people an idea of a push that, hey, what you're currently doing may not be working, or what you're currently doing may be taking a lot of time. But what you're going to learn on this webinar is something that will speed it up, will save you time, or whatever. So this could be the benefit angle. You could put other benefit angles in the other closes as well. So really what you're doing, if you think about it, you're taking your benefit angles and placing them in the close and the countdown as well. So you can say a lot of attendees were shocked at how simple this is to do. So go ahead and grab a beverage first, watch it here. But that page will be removed very soon in X amount of hours, so don't put this off any longer or you will miss out. Warm regards, your name. Now in this case, we don't really need to have a PS because we're counting down. But if you want to have several countdowns, you can change this to replay coming down, different benefit angle, and you can place the different benefit angles in the close as well. So really you're rehashing and reusing the same wordage so that they get used to it. All right. So that's pretty much it. And with that said, let's move on to the next video. So congratulations, you have reached the end of video 6. Now we're at video 7. And now that you are done creating your email follow-up series, we are going to take all that we've learned and create the webinar page. So before we can actually, set everything up in GetResponse or your autoresponder in video number 8, we've got to have the webinar page in hand. Now, while you don't have to make your webinar page disappear, and you don't necessarily have to use the close or anything like that, you can achieve this if you want to do that by utilizing a cookie-based countdown timer. So that when prospect A comes to the page, they see it, let's say, for an X amount of hours, let's say 72 hours. But when they come and they're warned that, hey, it's actually going to disappear, when they come back to the page and it has ended, it will have disappeared. So 72 hours, it ends, so does that page. So if they come back, the page is gone. Now, you might be thinking, well, wouldn't I lose money? Would I lose that prospect? Yes, you might lose it at that moment, but it's okay, because what you're doing is you're conditioning people to realize that when you say 72 hours and it ends, it ends. Now, what you could do is within a week's time or 2 weeks' time, you email them again to a different page that is, say, for 24 hours only. So given that it closed down earlier and then you're offering it again, a lot of times when utilizing scarcity and it closes and reopens for a very time limited period, that will actually help your sales. And you will be amazed how much it does. Now, what we can do is most likely prospect A, in this case, didn't purchase earlier, but they will purchase now. However, let's say prospect B comes 5 days later. You can actually make it so they see a timer at 72 hours again. So really what it is based on each user when they are cookied. And you can achieve this by getting access to a software application. It is called Countdown Monkey. And there are two different ways that you can use Countdown Monkey. Countdown Monkey is a timer. However, you can either set it so that everyone, sees it end in 72 hours, or you can set it up as a evergreen offer, which is what I've talked about here, where prospect A comes, they see 72 hours, prospect B comes, and they see it based on when they actually visited. So as of now, this is the only software script that I know of that will allow you to achieve this. Now, if you apply this to your page, then you can actually not only have scarcity, but you will have a user-based experience. And that is very, very powerful to have. So because there are so many different lead capture generating pages, systems out there, I'm really just going to show you what you want to look for and leave it up to you as far as what you want to use. So you can use anything from things like optimized press or lead pages or anything like that. Now, if you want to use Countdown Monkey, some of these tools you have to use, whereas you can actually enter some sort of JavaScript code, which will allow you to edit the page. But with lead pages, for example, it does offer a countdown timer on some of these, but you're not really going to be able to integrate Countdown Monkey with it. So you're going to have to use something like Optimized Press or something WordPress based or even HTML based to utilize the Countdown Monkey. But I just wanted to show you some of these templates to show you kind of what you're looking for to kind of create. But with EverWebinar or even Webinar Geo, you'll be able to kind of recreate a live experience through those systems. So if I scroll down here, this is what we're looking for. So if you go to lead pages, just as an example, these are kind of what you're looking for here. And as you can see here, we have, we have the register for a webinar, but that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for kind of a page like this where it just like has the video. And you don't want to pick a page that's too complex. Really what it comes down to, I found, is just a headline at the top, the webinar replay, and then some sort of button below it that says register now. So keep it simple. Don't keep it complex. If you can find one that has a countdown timer on it, and you don't need to have Countdown Monkey, that's fine too. But that's something that you kind of want to aim at. Hello and welcome to video number 8. We're going to talk about text versus HTML emails. Now it's time to get the email series that you made and set it up onto your autoresponder. But before we can do that, we need to set up plain text emails or HTML emails. Now, you might be asking, why does that matter? Well, HTML emails allow you to really track within your autoresponder your open rates, while plain text emails, they'll allow you to track the actual links themselves if somebody clicks on the links, but you really can't figure out if somebody actually opened the email unless you use HTML-based emails. So before we can actually set things up on the autoresponder itself, I have to show you how to go about the process of creating HTML emails. Super easy, doesn't take a lot of time. Now, there is a big debate as to whether text will get better delivery rates compared to HTML. But we found that at the end of the day, If you can use HTML emails, great. If you have to stick with plain text, that's fine. So either way, I want to show you how to create both so that whatever route that you take, you can actually figure out how to set things up correctly. So this is actually very, very easy to do. First things first, plain text email. All you have to do is simply open up Notepad and put your subject line in, and of course your body of your text, and you're done. The HTML emails, you need to have the plain text first because we'll need that in hand when we actually put it into the HTML editor. Now, to keep things simple, I'm going to be using Composer, which is actually very, very good. It's a HTML editor. It's free. And all you need to do is simply go to google.com, type in KOMPOZER, and you'll find this right here. So KOMPOZER.net. So it's not .com, it's .net. And when you get here, you can simply download it and install it. Now, they do have versions other than Windows. So if you click on downloads, you'll be able to see that they also have different languages, other versions for Windows, Mac, and Linux. So that pretty much covers everybody. So go ahead and do that now. And if you want to pause this video now and install it and resume it, because I'm going to show you how to use it in just a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Composer here. Click on Run. And this is what it looks like. Very, very simple, easy to use. As long as you understand how to use Microsoft Word, it's pretty much the same. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take this email that we have created as far as plain text email. We're going to take the body of it. You don't need to take the subject line because the subject line will be entered typically in the autoresponder itself. So you take the actual body of the email from the plain text, you simply copy it, you paste it, and you're pretty much almost done. So what we need to do is we can make it bigger. We can change the font if you want to. So we can change this from Times New Roman to something like Arial. And for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to make it big, but obviously smaller is good. Not too small, but small enough. And what you want to do is you're going to have the replay link here, right? So you're going to highlight that, or you can highlight any text if you want to. So we're going to highlight this. You want to click on link here. And then, of course, you want to type in http://www. whatever your domain that you're going to send them to is. And the URL. And typically, I like to click on link is to be open in a new window. So when they click it, they will actually open up in a new window. So that's that. You can also bold specific words, and that's what I would recommend. Bold specific words like benefit angle, if you can. Bold the letters right above the links would be good. Like that. But you don't want to bold too much because then you over bold everything. You also want to use highlights as well if you can. So if you say it's a huge time saver, we could highlight that. We could click on this little icon here, which allows us to choose highlight color for text. So we can choose something like yellow, press OK. And as you can see, we put a highlight behind it. And really, really very, very simple, but you can change the color. You can change the background color, which I don't recommend that you do. You want to keep it kind of white background, black words. Simple, easily readable, bold, italicized. You can italicize words. You can underline them. You can also make it left aligned, center aligned, but I generally speaking like to keep it left aligned. Now, when it comes time to actually copying this over, you want to go to the source tab and you want to copy this and then copy that into the autoresponder wherever it asks you to enter the HTML code. So that's where you would get the code, and that's it. So now that you're done with this, we can move on to the next video, and I'll actually show you how to set things up properly within GetResponse. And keep in mind that you can apply this to Aweber, to Entreport, as long as you understand the basics. Once you understand the basics, you can apply that to other autoresponder services. So congratulations, you've reached the end of this video course. This is video number 9, and I'm going to show you how to set up your follow-up series with GetResponse. Now, even though I'm using GetResponse, you don't have to use GetResponse. You can use Aweber, you can use Entreport, you can even use EverWebinar and implement a follow-up series within that. You can even use Webinar Geo. They all have the ability to kind of create this webinar replay experience. So, like I said, you don't have to use GetResponse because you have the email series, you have the webinar page, and you have the plain text emails or HTML-based emails. So you'll notice that when you set things up, everything will look very, very similar. So let's jump on over to GetResponse, and I'm going to show you how to upload them, how to set everything up correctly so that you have a fully automated system. Okay, so we're going to start where we left off in the previous video, where we had Composer, we had the source code, and we had the plain text HTMLs. Now, first things first, obviously, when you log into GetResponse, you will need to create a campaign before you can actually create an autoresponder campaign. So up at the top here, it says current campaign. We just click here. We click on create campaign. And you can copy campaign settings from other campaigns if you would like, but in this case, I'm just going to keep it standard. We're going to call this test email series. I'm going to click on create campaign. And then the second thing I do is I click on edit campaign settings. And generally speaking, I'll click on permissions and you can enable confirmed opt-in or you can unselect these. So what this means is that if I unselect these, that means that anytime somebody opts in, they will automatically begin to receive emails from your autoresponder email series. Now, if you check this, what this means is that an email will be sent to their email address confirming and basically validating that they actually own that email address. So they have to click that link and then they will begin to receive the autoresponder email series after that. Now, at the very bottom, you can see confirmation page. If you click on custom URL, you can enter the actual webinar page, the URL here. And then, of course, profile in general, it's very easy. You can fill in your information there. And then, once you're done with that, you go under messages, you go to manage autoresponders. So we click on this. And now we can see it says show autoresponders in campaign test email series. So we can see right now there is nothing. So if we put one in the 0 box, that means that they get that email immediately. So this obviously will be your welcome email, the replay. And if you want to send them emails afterwards, you can, but this basically means 1 day after they sign up, 2 days after, 3 days after, 4 days after, 5 days after, and 6 days after. Now, typically what I found is if you tell them they're going to receive it every day, that's fine. As long as you are upfront and transparent with them, okay? So you can, and what we found works pretty well is if you do 0, maybe 2, 4, and then spread it out. Just try to spread it out as much as possible so you don't bombard them. But if you do every day, that's fine too, as long as you let them know. As long as in the welcome email, you let them know what's happening and you're transparent about it, that's fine. So let's go ahead and click the 0 here. And if we scroll down, we can see it's 0 test email series, send this message immediately. And with GetResponse, you can also enable it so that they only receive it on a certain day. So you could remove the Saturday and Sunday if you would like. If you find that most of your audience operates better through the weekdays, you can do that. But we're going to leave it as it is. We're going to go ahead and click on Create New Email. And it's going to ask you for your subject line. And with GetResponse, you have a variety of pre-designed templates that you can pick and choose from if you want to use something fancy. You can use plain text email, and if you click on plain text email, this is what it looks like. So nothing really fancy here. All you have to do is simply take the body right here, put it in here, copy it in here. So I just copied and pasted it in here. Now to personalize the first name, you basically click on personalize up at the top and click on first name and comma. So anytime that appears, they're going to actually see their name. All right. So that's all you have to do. Click on next step and you're pretty much done. Now I'm going to go back to the previous step because I want to show you how to enter the HTML based emails. Now, like I said earlier, if you use HTML based, it's a lot better just because you will know if somebody actually opened their email. If you use plain text, you're not really going to know if they opened the email or not. You get a lot better statistics if you use the HTML emails. So I'm going to go ahead and click on replace. You're not going to see this if you go straight here, but it's just warning us that we're replacing the plain text that we entered earlier. So it's pretty much either or. You can pick and choose plain text or HTML. So now what we need to do is simply enter the code here. So I'm going to go to Composer, and remember we go to the Source tab, we can select all, and then we're going to copy all of it in here. So that's that. We can click on Show WYSIWYG, which is basically what you see is what you get. So remember, this is what it looked like, right? So everything looks good. We're going to click on Next Step, and we've pretty much entered the first email. So same thing, you just got to repeat it. Now you can see this right here. You can see that the first welcome email has been entered. Now all you need to do is pick a day. So if you want to do every day, just click here and repeat the cycle. Or if you want to do every 2 days or every other day, then you can click on that and repeat the cycle. And that's it. Once you're done, that's all you have to do. And if you're using lead pages, you can actually connect directly to this campaign. If you're using other different softwares, you can do that as well. Or you can go to forums, and of course you can create a form specifically for this campaign as well. So that's it. That's how easy it is to set up a email autoresponder campaign within GetResponse. So same goes with Aweber, with Entreport, with MailChimp, with all these other autoresponder series and systems. It's the same thing. You enter the subject line, and then it'll ask you to enter either plain text or an HTML-based email. And that's it. So congratulations, you've reached the end of this video course, and you can implement and make sure that you take action. All right?